To the left side, please. Over your left shoulder. Move it.
If you see side, you'll let me know, okay?
One up down here. Amanda down near the front for Disney. Amanda, Disney down near the front. Amanda, here, down. One more time, Amanda.
To the top, please.
Better find your real fast, please. Right in front of you, right down bottom. Thank you kindly.
This way up.
Please.
And back over here. Back over here. Amanda, this way, please, in the middle. Left shoulder.
Will you turn it to more, Tom? Yes. Yeah, it's perfect. It's down. You want to amend both kids for that? Yeah, that's perfect. Yes,
Corner here. Here, that. One step forward. Here. And then this way.
Everybody down bottom, please. Down bottom, please. Thank you kindly. Thank you.
Nice down here for Disney.
Here, please. And second row.
That's it.
Right-hand side.
Okay, please. And a big smile. This way. Here, down.
And to the left.
Left, please.
And now one more time to the corner.
Yes.
One more time to the left. One more time to the left.
And to the
This
very
way,
left,
please.
please. Sit down here, please. Now we have time for the producer, please. On both sides. The ladies in the middle. And take one step forward, please. One step forward, please.
One step forward, please.
And again from the left.
Corner.
Turn this more to your left.
And then the corner over here, please. This way, please. Right in front of you.
Right in the middle, please. Down bottom, please. Thank you kindly.
Up.
Down in the middle for Disney, please. Everybody for Disney down here.
Here. And second row would be nice as well. Second row, please.
This way, here.
Okay, this way. One more time. One more time to your right.
And how about that middle down bottom, please? Thank you.
And Disney down here. Okay,
Here, please. Here, please.
This way, please.
To the left, please.
This way, here.
One more time.
Down. To your right, to your right. The corner, please.
one more time down here in the center. Would you try to do that one more time?
Here.
Amanda?
Amanda.
And then you.
Please.
And now the
One more
side.
time
Follow
to
to
the
the
left
corner. Yes.
corner.
And with more. Yes, that's perfect. That's perfect. And then I'll look straight ahead. That's good. Perfect.
Look up, please. Look up, please. Class. Look up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mona stays with us. Thank you.
Yeah. Come back.
Hello, everybody.
Left shoulder, please.
This way, here. And over here, please.
Look up.
And look over your left shoulder, please. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Look up, please. This way, please, in front of you.
One more. This way, here.
Right down bottom, please. Thank you so
Second
much.
row, please.
One down here for Disney, please.
This way, here. And second row.
Please, let's
Thank you. Thank you. This way. One more.
Again, second
And
row.
second row, please.
Eyes on your left, please.
This way.
Get it down. First
This.
row. You look for the right here. And second row.
And here, first row.
To the corner, please.
And one more time, we have this thing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. If everyone could, the photographers could please sit down so we can start. Thank you. Amazing. So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jacqueline Lyanga, co-director of film programming here at the 76th Berlinale. And welcome to this Berlinale Special Gala press conference for The Testament of Anne Lee, which we are very excited to be presenting in the Berlinale Palast and in the Zoo Palast in 70 millimeter this evening. Really exciting. So to get started, I'm going to introduce the film team that's come here to talk about the film. I'm going to start with, to my left, producer Andrew, to my left, I don't know my left from right. To my right, producer Andrew Morrison. And then we're going to go down to the far end of the table where we have Academy Award-winning composer Daniel Blumberg. Next to him, we have an Academy Award-nominated actress who is really extraordinary in this film. Please help me welcome Amanda Seyfried. And next to her, we have a director, a screenwriter who has received many nominations, has done independent work, but then has done some incredible work on The Brutalists, that, for which, as a co-screenwriter, she received awards and nominations, and her work in this film, again, is really spectacular. You've had a chance to see it. So please help me welcome director and co-screenwriter Mona Fastvold. So we are going to open it up to questions, but I think first I had a question that really stuck with me that I wanted to ask, which is, it's you bring together, and it's in some ways for each of you a biopic, but especially for Mona, it's a musical, it's a period piece. You have choreography, what was for you as you wrote this project and thought about it? What did you see as the biggest opportunity and maybe some of the challenges, but certainly opportunity, because it seems like there's so many opportunities for you to showcase your skill at the craft.
First of all, thank you so much for having us here in Berlin. I haven't shown a film at the festival before, so I'm really happy to be here. I think that one of the biggest opportunity for me was really to get to work with Daniel Blumberg on creating such a musical piece, and with Celia Rowson Hall, our choreographer, on bringing in modern dance and choreography, which is, my background is in movement, and I was so excited to bring that into my cinematic language. And then, of course, the challenges are, as always with our films, that this is 100% independently made film with, just Andrew and I walking around this festival a couple of years ago.
Trying to find anyone who wanted to make it with us. Yeah.
Yes, and so luckily some people did in the end, but it was a challenging journey. So it's always, the challenges are always the schedule, the budget, and trying somehow to still create a story that is grand and that is ambitious and that has scope and scale.
Hello, I'm Vivian from the ZDF in Germany. Thank you all for the movie and for your time. I have two little questions for Amanda Seyfried. So first of all, how hard was the process of filming and how hard were the preparations, especially with the ecstatic dance movements for you?
I think the less time you have, the harder things get. And I saw this as an exceptional challenge handed to me on a platter by Mona. And I also had a year to work on the songs, the hymns that were just simple little hymns that were made into these like vibrant, like long pieces of just the beautiful music that Daniel created out of these simple hymns. And then I also had all the ecstatic dancing was very, very choreographed. It wasn't at all improvisational because of how close we were dancing, and so everything needed to feel like it was coming from inside and through me for worship, but it needed to be so specific. And so I used that whole year and really tried to nail it into my muscle memory. But those weren't the only challenges. I mean, it's also just she's so foreign to me. Not in the fact that she has is from Manchester and has that really difficult accent, but also because she existed 300 years ago and created a community. Like she was so devoted and had like this just conviction that I don't necessarily relate to or walk through the world with. So I had to adopt that. But because of the script, it was very clear the story that Mona wanted to tell, and in some ways it was really liberating. But I will say it was the greatest challenge of my career. I think it's very obvious when you see the movie that we went through a lot. Rain, cold, extreme heat, no time to shoot it, no money, like $10 million in 34 days. I mean, something that it's absurdly impossible for the most part, except Mona did it. And you would say the same thing about Ann Lee. It's like, if she were to tell you what she wanted to do and what she wanted to create, this kind of utopian society between, with equality between gender and race in the 18th century, you'd be like, that's impossible, and she fucking did it. And that's what Mona did it too. But it didn't come without extreme cost, personally, and in terms of like comfort. But that's what art is, and we make those sacrifices, and it's like, which is a privilege for me. That's a really long answer. You're welcome. No, kidding.
Yes?
Hello, thank you. I'm so looking forward to have also friends seeing a musical-ish film, because musicals are kind of underrated, aren't they? I'm really looking forward also to the composition of Daniel Blumberg, but my question also goes to you, Amanda Seyfried. You've been just talking about equality. How important is equality for you when being in a film, for example, with Sydney Sweeney, who's not the most uncontroversial person? And for me, as a young person, it kind of loses, I think the option of being a role model, especially in those times which are like basically saying fascism is rising everywhere, and it is. So how are you
What's rising?
Fascism.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So how are you choosing your projects?
I think when I think about what I'm going to do, I think about what's worth me leaving my kids for, and what's going to give me the opportunity as an artist to flex myself and to learn something about myself. I mean, this particular project had quality all over it, and what I define as quality is a clear vision, and not necessarily a message, but like an exploration of someone's life through storytelling and some kind of like in a cinematic atmosphere, with a real edge, with a real clarity of vision. And so that's quality to me, and that this whole movie was just felt like it was made with such passion and such nuance and such careful creation. And then in terms of The Housemaid, it's vastly different. The experience was vastly different for me in shooting it, and the content is vastly different, but it was also incredibly fun and let me flex myself and my artistic needs in not in the same way necessarily, but it was very fruitful for me personally. And at the end of the day, I think we're both, I'm gonna say this, I love the fact that they're both about strength of character, women with needs and who are activated by those needs and by the need for equality and by the need for safety in the world. So like, I'm 100% behind both movies, and I'm thrilled that they came out around the same time, not just because they were so dynamic for me as an actor, but also because they do say something. It's just a different kind of genre with a different kind of appeal to different kind of people. But women are showing up at the theater because we're making movies for women.
Hello, it's Yannis Rauzeos from Athens, Greece. I've got two questions, one for Amanda and one for Amanda and Mona. In your portrayal of Anneli, faith does not appear somehow as just an ideology or an approach to the world, but as a bodily experience, almost as a wound, speaking through the body in general. How did you shape an acting approach in which interiority, that means grief, ecstasy, and everything that exists inside, loss, is expressed and psychologically and metaphysically as an embodied revelation before the camera? And also, additionally, Anneli emerges as a figure oscillating between redemption and fanaticism, between political emancipation and spiritual authority. How did you navigate the boundary between these two aspects? And at the end, what exists in this film as an answer towards the character towards the main character? Is it the seek of a spiritual revelation, or at the end, or both, the seek of spiritual power?
What do you think?
Wow.
That's a great question, and it's so thoughtful. How much time do you have? I tried to tell this story with truly an open mind. I myself is not religious. I was not raised with any religion. I just have a natural skepticism towards any story about a religious figure, I think, and that's how I approached my research. But the more I read about Mother Anneli and the Shakers, the more she defied my expectations. So my intent with the portrayal of this character was to take the audience on a journey that was hopefully as open as mine was when I was doing that research. It kept shifting. At times I would find them to be ridiculous, absurd, humorous, and at other times I thought her story to be deeply moving and heartbreaking, and I was filled with empathy and love for what she was trying to achieve with equality and with her sort of this community that she was trying to create. For me, it's a metaphor so much, in many ways, also for trying to strive for impossible projects. I think that is what spoke to me. That's what I connected with personally, if that's what you're asking. What you're left with as an audience member, it's a bit open. Hopefully you're left with a conversation with your partner, with your friend, with your parent, with someone who disagrees with you.
About embodying her, pretty much. Yeah, I think, and what the choice I make as in my process is, how not how much to fall in love with the character that I'm playing, but also, how am I going to make this feel as real as possible, right? And I'm not a religious person. I respect religion. I think the Bible has some incredible stories, and I grew up reading it. But I do think my connection to whatever is greater than us, you know, my higher power per se, is as intense and spiritual to me as her devotion to God. It's something that I don't go, you know, a day without being grateful for and feeling like it really gives me some strength. And that's like, I'm more specifically in nature and caring for animals. I mean, this is what really brings me to my knees, and I totally get it, and I understand it, and I don't have to agree with her about everything. I certainly don't, but I really believe that she believed, and I believe that she found comfort and strength in her faith, and I get that because I do too. It's what keeps me being able to, you know, be here and leave my family, because I love the work. I love talking about it. I love my fellow artists. And maybe that's kind of a church too, you know, making films.
Cinema is our church.
Cinema.
Yeah, hello to everybody. My name is Mark Harapetian, founder and publisher of culture magazine Spirit, The Smile and the Storm, and I'm also board of Cinema Museum Berlin. So my first question goes to Mona. We have the biggest collection of 35 and 70 millimeter copies in Europe, I think.
Nice.
So why,
can I come visit?
Thank you. So why did you use this special widescreen format for your film? And the question to all who want to answer on stage, the film deals also with the topic of faith communities. Do you think they are necessary, they can help the people, or they just use people often? Thank you.
So, I mean, I love shooting on film. It's my preferred format. I'm so glad that we are seeing upswing in prints that are being made and films shown on 70 and 35. I shot widescreen because of the movement. That was one part of it. I saw the dance and movement pieces in that aspect ratio. It was about camera movement, and sort of during tests I found that you know, even being able to have a close-up of Amanda and following her whole arm stretching across the screen, you know, moments like that really invited that ratio. And then I also thought a lot about, you know, religious paintings as an inspiration visually for this, and how can I sort of center it around her, but then have every other character surround her in these sort of. So I saw that choreography and that blocking. So that was the reason for the aspect ratio. To answer your question about communities of faith, I think community is very important. I think faith can I have all the respect, you know, in the world for communities of faith, and I think it can be a very positive thing. I think it can also be a really complicated and oppressive thing. It really just depends. So it's hard to make a generalization about that, I think. But I do think that, you know, there's also in many situations where it's been a place of refuge. And I think this community, the Shaker community, however flawed it was, this utopian experiment, at least it was an attempt to be a safe haven.
Wasn't there a second question?
This was the second.
Hi,
okay.
Sorry, okay.
Sorry. Oh.
Yeah, thanks. I'm Laura Kühnau. I work at a radio station here in Berlin, Radio Paradiso. I have a question for Amanda. So you've done iconic musicals before, but what is different on this one? Thank you.
Well, I think it's the most iconic woman singing some soon-to-be iconic songs. I think, you know, I think because the Shakers worship through song and dance, it lends itself to, I mean, it has to be a musical, and I love exploring my own relationship to music through musicals. I think it's just something I'm never going to get sick of. But this was a different kind of expression. It didn't feel as much like singing and dancing as it did like moving and finding a new voice inside of me, which I did, which I had to stop listening to myself sing and more sing from a place in my body where I was just feeling it. I love music, and I love expressing myself through song more than anything in the world. And the fact that these songs were written by real people in their worship, and these movements were based on like survival and connection to themselves and each other and God, and that it was all about like bringing a community together. It just weighs more. It's more, for me, more iconic that this woman was a part of this and created this, and that music was so important to it, and it sets it very much apart, obviously, from like jukebox musical, which I love too. But yeah, I don't know if that.
Well, on that, I would love for Daniel and Mona to talk a bit about that, about the music and how you spoke about it, how it would bring emotion, obviously to scenes and drama, and also especially knowing that some of the score, that there would be choreography. I think that seems like a different way to think about the music and the tempo.
It was a really collaborative process. And what was different about it is how we would really go back and forth between Celia Rosenhall, our choreographer, and Daniel's work. And she would choreograph a piece, and we would share that with Daniel. Daniel would incorporate some of her movement into percussion and sort of the back and forth between the two, because I didn't want any separation between the diegetic audio and the music. We wanted it to be really kind of, so we spent, our sound, I'm very proud of our sound mix, I have to say. Daniel?
Yeah, Mona kept the process open from the start to the end, so we were constantly able to adjust, to the picture, and we actually mixed it in Berlin with Steve Single, the sound mixer, Andy Neal, who was doing the sound effects, and all of our music stems. We were sort of throwing stuff around. If there was a cow walking past that mooed, we could tune that to the song, or if there was sort of rhythms happening with the workers, we could use that as a rhythm in the song. And Mona always talked about it being all moving very fluidly between dialogue and diegetic sounds and music. So that was possible as well, from just constantly adjusting stuff on the set as well. Yeah.
Yeah, Daniel was truly with me through the entire process, from when I finished a first version of the script, and then throughout the very end of completing the film, which is wonderful to have the opportunity to work that closely together.
Oh yeah, Joel Grip is here, who played double bass.
Oh yeah.
He was in the sound mix playing double bass to the picture on the last days.
Crazy how many incredible musicians we have all over the soundtrack. It's like, oh my God, I keep meeting more people, like legends, that just like, oh yeah, I worked on your movie. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Great, people flock for these people. Good, collaborators.
Great. Yes, yeah.
Okay, hello, I'm Francesca. I'm from German broadcaster RTL, and I have a question for Amanda as well. So you just said that you only had 34 days for filming, and that I've read in an interview, and please correct me if that's wrong, but that you spent almost an entire year for preparing for this role. And so my question is, how did you do that? Because I guess you're on a very tight schedule, and you did that in your free time. So how... I guess most people want to spend time with their friends and family during their free time. So did you get a lot of support from them? Was there a time where you said, okay, now I take time off and I'm not going to prepare? So how time-consuming was it?
I did a whole show between starting the shoot, like a little bit of, we shot a little bit in Massachusetts at the Hancock Shaker Village, and then I would go to the city for like a weekend, or I would go to Mona's Attic and Daniel and I would record early versions of the hymns, and then they would build on it, and I would come back in and meet Daniel on Zoom or something in a friend's studio, and we had so much, like, a wealth of time. So I felt really comfortable and familiar with things as they were happening, and I felt like I was really part of the development process, and that gave me confidence. But it's basically, even like our DP, you know, Andrew and Maddie, our other producer, and Will, like, they would like hang out at your house and talk about things, and Sam Bader, the production designer, you have all these people available to you, even though they're working. They would come on nights and weekends, and we were actually I was shooting a show that Mona directed at one point that summer. And so in my trailer, you know, between setups, we would talk about the Mancunian accent, or like we would schedule something with Daniel. And so it was just because of the passion, like purely like the need to know everything, the need to get to the bottom of who this woman was and how to properly portray her for Mona and Mona's interpretation. And it was just a choice. It's a choice you make as an artist. Like, how much time do I want to spend? Well, I want to spend as much time as possible. And then Celia Rowson Hall lives part-time with her wife and son up near me near my farm. So instead of coming down to the city, I would meet her in like a half hour away from me at a little dance studio and spend like days and weeks learning the stuff and sending them to Mona. So it was all piecemeal, and it all added up to having a very, very solidified understanding of what was needed of me and before I got to Budapest. It was really the most luxurious preparation experience that I've ever had, and that only comes from people willing to do the hard work even when they almost don't have time. And my son and my daughter found it hilarious that I was walking around with this Mancunian accent, and they took it on as well. And so you sometimes make it fun for the family too. And I will say also, all our families came to Budapest. And it was a vacation for them. We were always on set, coming back late, and they were out, you know, on the river, wherever the fuck they would go. Her daughter was like the leader.
You were coming a lot. So we were recording at the Airbnb.
We also recorded everything at his place every Sunday night before a 4 a.m. pickup Monday morning. And like I would be like, Daniel, I gotta go put the kids to bed. And he's like, no, just one more time. But he would like ply me with red wine, and then I would stay an extra 45 minutes. But we got so much done because it felt so safe, and we had all done the work. We were just looking for a little bit more, you know. And we had a whole week in Budapest before we started shooting in the studio. I'm telling you, I've never spent more time on a movie in my life, and I think it shows. Like even Mamma Mia 1 and 2 and Les Mis, like I didn't work that long on them. I worked maybe like 4 to 6 months. This is just absurd, but like it works. It works because we worked it. Isn't that a phrase?
It is now.
Okay. Yes.
Hi, Haley Passmore from Filmonomy. Thank you guys for such a beautiful film. So Annelise was a hidden figure, and you've taken her and shown her to the world, which I feel like has happened a lot with films recently. We've seen like minorities being, like stories being shared. How important do any of you feel like that as filmmakers for these stories to be shared? And do you think in the future there'll be more? Thank you.
Tough to say.
I mean, I would love to be really sort of hopeful, but it's a little hard right now. I think this film is it was very, as you know, as Andrew can attest, it was very difficult to get this film made and financed. And so I hope there are more stories like this that are being told. I felt so lucky when I discovered the story of Anne Lee. I thought it felt like a gift, and I thought, I have to make it right away because someone else is going to make it before me or something like that. And of course, no one was interested in that at all. But you know, I have found that there's a lot of interest for her story, and the conversations that I've gotten to have since we premiered the film in September with audience members, with journalists, have been really exciting and stimulating and interesting. So here's hoping.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we were really excited about the fact that this was an underexplored thing in American history, and history in general. And I think it's exciting to make work that makes people aware of things that they've never seen before. I think when we worked on The Brutalist, it was like people were talking about brutalism, all around, and that was exciting. And now there's people, talking about Shakerism, that's and debating it and having real conversations about it. And so I think for us up here, we're really excited to tell those stories and find a way to make them possible, even if I think the broader cinematic culture is not being the most supportive of them right now. But that's what's exciting about the work, is trying to do that.
Hello, my name is Marie Colette. Welcome in Berlin. I have a question regarding the music of the film, not just this film, but in general. Mr. Blumberg, how do you draw your inspiration to music that you compose, especially when it is a historic piece? I mean, we saw Ashanti in the trailer. And to Mrs. Seyfried, how long are the musical pieces that you are singing staying with you? Can you still recall the other songs? Can you still, okay, other songs for real, but does Les Mis still stay with you? How long are they haunting you? Thank you.
No, it was, there was a lot of songs, the Shakers had over 2,000 hymns and songs. So it was a lot of work to go through them, and Mona and I went through stuff and worked out what was appropriate for the film. But it was nice to have that starting point. And in general, I think you asked how the music gets inspired. Initially I ordered just all the books about the music, but also the drawings and the furniture. You never really know what's going to inspire like an idea. But I also work quite logically, so thinking about the first thought with the script was the way they described Brady and Mona in the script. Described the origins of the Shakers, like these kind of wordless hymns. It made me think of some improvising singers like Phil Minton and Maggie Nichols and Shelley Hirsch, and they became part of the film. They were sort of the first voices that I heard. Phil's in his 80s, and we just played with him last week at the Barbican. He was a big part of the score. Maggie Nichols came on set and performed, and then she was a big part of the score. And yeah, I think of these sort of colours of the score. The bells were interesting because they started out little jingling bells, and then by the end of the score we were using church bells. Steve Noble, the percussionist, was playing these huge church bells. And it's this incremental thing, and it's like speaking to Mona. We spent about 1.5 years together just massaging these ideas gently, and by the end of it, the weird thing we made.
And how long they stay with me? That was the question.
7 years.
At least it will be, probably. I'll let you know in 7 years. I hunger and thirst, It's tricky, but it's haunting too. And I don't know. I just got to get to the next musical. That'll stop the cycle. You know what I mean? So funny.
Well, I have to say just thank you to all of you for your work and your collaboration on this film, and thank you for coming to the Berlinale to present it. Yes.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.